Present here. A very warm welcome you all for day 16 International Faculty Development Program on Teaching, Learning and Assessing in 2030. I feel privileged to have each and every one of you here joining us in this educational excellence organized by Department of Physics, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus. Today's speaker is Amanda Daly. So she talks on designing learning journeys, crafting engaging curricula for success. Amanda worked as a Deputy Dean of Learning and Teaching in Griffith Business School. Throughout her career in Australia and New Zealand higher education, she has played a pivotal role in shaping educational practices in business education. As a recent recipient of the Vice Chancellor's Award for Griffith University Education Leader of the Year, Amanda has been a catalyst for change, spearheading various initiatives aimed at enhancing teaching and learning experience. Her engaging and dynamic teaching style has captivated students and environment that promote critical thinking and creativity. She is a member of the International Educational Association of Australia Research Committee and chair of the Emerging Research Subcommittees. Recognizing her commitment to quality in higher education and expertise in international education, Amanda is a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy and a senior fellow of the International Education Association of Australia. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you for that. It's wonderful to be here tonight. It is very late here in Queensland. It's 10:30 in the evening, but it's great to be able to join you for this, I think, important session about learning and teaching. I had a look this evening at other sessions that have been occurring over the last 2 weeks, and I think you've had some really great speakers. So I'm honoured to be talking with you this evening. So as was just said, tonight I'm going to be talking about designing learning journeys and thinking about how we can craft curricula that's really engaging for student success. So as mentioned, I'm from Griffith University, which is in Queensland, Australia, on the east coast of Australia. And in Australia, we have a very strong focus on reconciliation and acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands where we work and live and play. So I'd like to extend my acknowledgement of that tonight I'm coming from the land of the Gubbi Gubbi people and paying my respect to elders past and present. So first of all, I wanted to start off talking a little bit, or just briefly giving an idea about who I am, because I think who we are as individuals and what we value and our experiences that we have, they really influence how we teach and how we engage with students. And if you take a few moments to think back to your own educational experiences and what you had, how your teachers who really grabbed your attention, the ways that they engaged you, that will influence what you will do in the classroom and how you'll connect with students. So for me, before I became, before I became a university educator, I was a speech and language pathologist. So language is very important to me and interpersonal relationships. So today I'm going to talk to you about different concepts and terms and ensuring that when we're talking about curriculum, we're understanding the same concepts and on the same page. Now, I do want to say, if at any point anything I say isn't clear because of my Australian accent, which I know is very different, you've had a speaker from Ireland, I heard you had, I think it was someone from America. You know, the English accents can be very different. If there's anything I say that's not clear, or if I use any Australian slang, which Australians are very prone to do, please just let me know and I can make sure I'm a bit clearer with that. So, who am I as an educator? I think one of the things to be thinking about who we are as an educator really underpins the approach that we take to designing our curriculum. So for me, I see my role as being a facilitator of learning. And my aim is to make a difference in my students' lives. I love when they first start with us, and I love seeing when they're graduating and walking across the stage and they receive their testama. So I really want to look at innovative ways that's going to be about empowering them to become independent lifelong learners. So really focusing on inclusive practices to engage the different learners and the different styles, and thinking about why they might be at university. What's their goal of attending? I want to extend the knowledge that students have. So now even though I started as a speech pathologist, now I teach management, international management, sustainable management. And I think one of the things to be aware of, and this was discussed recently at a conference I went to in Malaysia, is that for a lot of students, they can access all of the concepts on their phone. They can Google, they can search for things on YouTube, and they can learn a lot of things there. But it's about nurturing their development in knowing how to use that information, how to work with others and collaborate to build their knowledge even further. So really looking at that idea of social constructivism, acknowledging that the students, when they start university, are not empty vessels waiting for the knowledge to be added, because they can just go on their phones, but looking at how we can build that knowledge and build their understanding of different things to extend knowledge even further. So for me, it's really about looking at active engagement and interaction together. I think also I really like to take a personalized approach as much as possible. Each student is there for a different reason. They've got different goals, and they'll use that learning in their own way. So part of that is thinking about authentic assessment and thinking about how they'll be using their learning towards their employability to become graduates of the future. So linking with that is the student journey. So I'm really going to talk about the idea of this journey and how we can be supporting students across the life cycle of the university education, rather than just seeing it as a small program of study. So rather than and here I've got an image of a student starting on the computer and then graduating and then going into their profession. But if we think of that as a circle, because we want them to be lifelong learners. So we have to think about, they're coming to us, how do we support them and scaffold them along the way to be ready to go into their profession? And then when they're in their profession, what further skill might they need, whether they're going to be going on to a new career, or whether they need further upskilling and development of their knowledge to go further in their particular profession. So the underpinning all of this is that engaging curriculum, that we need them to be connected to their learning and have that purpose as they go forward. So with this, we need to think about how university education has changed. And when I reflect, and I was writing the presentation for this evening, and I reflect on what's happened since I started as an academic 20-something years ago, we've really seen a lot of changes. So probably the first one is that increased enrolment. I've seen more students who are undertaking tertiary education. In Australia, when I finished high school, it was approximately 1/4 of students were obtaining a degree. And now we're looking at 40% of high school graduates will go on to do some sort of study. So we're seeing more people are being driven by the need to have those qualifications in different professions and that need to have continuous education. And so there's a strong focus in society for that. We're seeing demographic changes. In Australia, we're seeing a lot more shift in our non-traditional learners. So students who are not coming straight from high school to university, but coming in as mature age students, coming in with different needs and skills. So we're seeing a greater uptake of neurodiversity, students with neurodiversity coming to university, students with disabilities, and from various different ages. I had one student, I think about 2 years ago, who came to university just because they wanted to and they never had the opportunity, and they were graduating in their 70s with an undergraduate degree. So that's really great. We're seeing more student mobility. Obviously, the last few years, there's been a pause on that, but already in Australia, we've had quite a return to the, well, not to the same levels yet, but to the pre-COVID stage numbers of students who are coming in to study. And I've just had a group of students who've just returned from being overseas for the last few weeks studying. So we're seeing that greater student mobility and that need for flexibility, because the students are acknowledging that they need to be globally ready when they graduate, that they're not going to be working in one little location, that all that they do in their careers will be connecting across the globe. We've seen a shift with online and distance learning. That was rapidly increased when the world was shutting down during the period of the pandemic. But for me, I've been teaching in the online space for almost 20 years. And I think that recognition of that distance learning and the need to have that flexibility in terms of learning to be able to juggle work and family commitments is really important. Before the pandemic, the estimate was that online education was going to be worth $350 billion by 2025. And certainly at Griffith, our digital campus is our fastest growing. When I was looking at your institution, I was noticing there's a section completely devoted to online programs. So it's definitely something that students are wanting to be able to grow, and moving into that they are studying on their phones, not just on a laptop at home. So linking with that is the technological integration. The students who are coming to us now are those digital natives. We need to be aware that while they live in technology, they don't necessarily know how to use that technology for their learning, but they expect all of those digital tools. They expect to be able to engage online. They expect online resources, learning management systems, and we need to be integrating that into how we're teaching them. We also have changing priorities and career focus. So students are coming to us with different career aspirations. We talk about that students are studying right now for careers and professions that perhaps don't even exist. And probably for many of you in your institution, in the field that you're working, some of the areas would be more relevant to you, but things like cloud computing, and I think I saw a job, cloud engineer. I have no idea what that means, but that stuff never existed before. All of these technology related professions have really blossomed in the last 20 years, and we're not sure where things are going to go. So we're educating students for an unknown future, but students need to be ready for that unknown future. They need to be prepared to have those skills and have that ability to continue learning. There's an emphasis for them on that career readiness, on those practical skills, that when they graduate, they can walk into an organisation and be ready to do the work. So they want that from our curriculum. They want those experiences. They want those abilities to connect with industry. They want opportunities for networking and internships. Now, the seventh point there is about student support services. We've also seen a shift in higher education of a greater support with students. So in Australia, we have a lot of support around counselling and health services, financial aid, so that we're supporting the student as a whole individual rather than just the small bit that is the learner that might come into your classroom. And a lot of these services are now starting to be embedded within the formal curriculum. So I'll talk a bit later about a program that we've developed and how those support services have been embedded. I think the 8th point there about rising costs and financial challenges, we are seeing significantly greater pressure on our students to support their learning. The cost of living is going up in Australia. There's a lot of pressure for students who are struggling to pay their rent, to be able to afford food, and they have to make a decision between study and work. You know, it's a great challenge for them. So those pressures will influence how the students engage with the curriculum. It needs to be in short little bites that they can engage in, rather than coming to class perhaps for a 2-hour or 3-hour block. And then linking with that is this approach or this change in the learning approaches. So there's been a big shift in the pedagogy, and it's moved away from that idea that a lecturer would stand in front of you for 2 hours in a very large lecture theatre. I remember my very first lecture that I presented, there was about 400 students in the room, and I just looked up and it was full of faces, and I talked for 2 hours and they took notes. Now I teach online. Most of them don't have their cameras on. I don't know if they're there, if they're listening to me. They could be cooking dinner. They could be at work at the same time. They could be doing a range of different things. And then when they come to my workshops, we're doing very hands-on practical work rather than responding to questions and writing essays and those sorts of things. So I think all of that shift in learning approach is very much shifting towards an active, engaged student. So these changes are reflecting the evolving needs, the aspiration, expectations of students in a really rapidly changing world. And institutions have to adapt to these shifts. We have to offer really flexible, technology enhanced and student-centered educational experiences. So when we talk about curriculum, if we go back to the 1960s and we look at the definition of what curriculum is.
Madam, no, madam, sorry. Please show
really
the previous
about
slide.
that planned learning opportunity.
Madam, please show the previous
How
slide.
what those experiences are that the learners have. A little bit of feedback for a second. Oh, there we go. So when we talk about that, that's really the formal curriculum. But what we need to think about is that bigger picture of what's the hidden curriculum? What is being taught to students or it's being implied to students? What's the implied academic, social and cultural messages? What are those unwritten rules and unspoken expectations? And we'll see that differs between different disciplines. So tonight I'm going to try with the technology to have some interaction with activities. And I want to understand a bit more about how your department would differ to mine in business. Someone's just asked for the previous slide. That one? Is that the one you were after? Excellent. Is it right to move on?
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam.
Excellent. So what we want to look at is what is being taught and learned. Why is it being taught and learned? And I think this is a shift that we're really seeing in students now, that they want to understand the why. Why are you telling me this? What do I need to know it for? How is it being taught and learned? When and where? And how do we as the educators know if that learning is taking place? How do we know that they're connecting with the material? So it's coming through the formal curriculum, the formal content. It comes through that hidden curriculum. So looking at those, the way that information is presented, the rules of engagement in the classroom. And it also comes through the informal curriculum. So those things like extracurricular activities, networking opportunities where you might be inviting key industry partners to come onto campus and talk about opportunities for students. So what I wanted to go through now is this idea of curriculum design and really focusing on constructive alignment. So when we talk about constructive alignment, that's a term that was coined by John Biggs. And it's a really commonly embraced process across higher education. And it's got two principles underpinning it. So the first one is that idea of constructivist knowledge, that as adults, we have knowledge already, and we use that different knowledge and we combine it together and the learning experiences to develop more knowledge, rather than it just being transferred from the educator, from the teacher to the student. But the other thing about constructive alignment is that we're connecting the different parts of the curriculum so that there's alignment between the learning outcomes that we are planning within our course, the activities that students engage in, and the assessment tasks. So we need to have that alignment across the process. And through that, we're going to get the students engaging with their learning. So we have to have these different components connected. They have to be supporting each other in order to have that outcome. This is where we can go into the phase of mapping. So we will map what our goals are. Then from that, we will map what the assessment is and how that links with the goals. Then we'll think about the learning experiences and we'll map that and connect it with the assessment and the goals. But I'm going to go through each of these. But the thing to notice that is if we change one aspect, it's going to have an influence on the other areas. So while we set something up at the beginning as our curriculum, we need to continuously evaluate that. Now, when I first started teaching, essentially 20 something years ago, you would be approached by a publisher, there'd be a textbook, and I would write my content from the textbook. And that was all set there. It was very easy. And then you'd tell the students, read chapter 1 this week, read chapter 2. But what we want to look at now is how we set those goals, and we use a range of different resources to achieve the learning. So let me just check. Nope, I'll go back, sorry. Previous. So once we set our educational goals, and we're going to do something on the next slide to do with this, that's what we want the students to have achieved by the end of the course. So at Griffith, we talk about a program. So that's the degree that the students are undertaking. So that's a program. And then the components of the program are the course. At another university I was at, the course was what we called the whole program. And then you had subjects in it. So I'm not quite sure which terminology you use, but essentially it's that bigger picture of the program goals first of all. Then we'll look at the course goals and how they've matched with the program goals. And then we will look at how do we know that the students have got to that goal? How do we know that they've achieved that learning objective? And that's through the assessment. Then we'll need to think about how are we going to teach them that learning objective? And that's when we think about the learning experiences, so our pedagogy and our practices in the classroom. And then we'll think about what's the specific content that needs to go into those learning experiences to meet the goals, and then we'll have the reflection. So what I wanted to attempt, we'll see if technology will work with us. I have set up a Padlet. Now you should be able to use this QR code to go into the Padlet, which I think I should be able to bring onto the screen. Now, is that working for people?
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
worked?
yes.
Okay, so I won't bring it onto the screen yet. But what I would like you to do is to share with me what you think in your program should be the attributes, the characteristics of a student when they graduate. What do you want them to have achieved when they finished your particular program? Now, I noticed that on your website you had PEOs. So as you're posting your program learning outcomes here or your graduate attributes, think about how that might link in with your PEOs. So I'm just going to come over the top of the screen for a second. This is what our Padlet looks like. To post in the Padlet, you click on the plus sign down the bottom, and then you should be able to type, I'm just going to write a word. So you can just write communication, and then you should hit publish. And so that one's already there. So if you each want to just take a few moments to put on the screen what you think would make a graduate successful if they completed your program of study. And when you have a look at some other people's links that they'll put up, you can actually go and rate the different posts. So I'll give you a few moments for that. Please let me know if it's not working. I'll move that Padlet out of the way so you can get the screen again if you need. Is it working for everyone? Can't see if anything's being added. Is anyone able to add to that Padlet? Because I can't see any posts going up yet.
Ma'am, are you getting response on Padlet?
I haven't yet, and I'll just refresh. No, it's nothing. Nothing's coming up.
Yeah, please participants, please scan this QR code and Padlet will open in your mobile. If you are having mobile with you, please scan and give the response to madam.
If it's not working, just post in the chat.
No.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I could open. I have given 5-star. Yeah, 5-star to you. Participants, please scan this QR code with your mobile, then open and you can write on the wall.
Oh, I've got somebody who's only got one mobile. Oh, I can see a couple of people in there now. So you write on the wall by clicking on the plus symbol down the bottom. Excellent. I can see someone's written teaching learning practice.
Ma'am, sorry, how to scan the QR code from mobile, ma'am? Should I use another mobile?
If you scan the screen, the other one will open up.
From other mobile, I have to do it? Maybe laptop. Okay.
Yes.
If you've got a laptop, hang on, I'll see if I can work out how to
Okay, from laptop. Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Sanju ma'am,
Yes.
might be
how to scan using the mobile? Please tell to our participants, please.
So,
So if you scan the
participant,
screen.
yeah. Please open a online QR scanner and scan this QR code.
Okay.
Or let me just have a look. You can also, if you're on a laptop, you could, did that work? There's a I've put the link there. That might work.
You put the link in chat
In the
box.
chat. The link is in the chat.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you give it in the chat box so that we will try?
Yes.
It's in the chat.
It's already given, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I can see some people have put up things around human ethics, lifelong learning, some value. So what I was noticing, while I can see some people are still typing, on your website, there's discussion around program educational objectives. And so these are usually very broad statements that describe the career and professional accomplishments that you want your students to have when they graduate. So it's very much about what the students, but if we use the word learning outcomes, it's about what we want the students to know or that they can do at the end of their study rather than when they get into their profession. So, you know, thinking about entrepreneurship, innovation, problem solving, those sorts of things. Okay. I'm going to jump back to the presentation. So if we think about those educational goals, and on my next slide, I'm going to give you some examples. But we want to think about how do we measure those goals. So, hang on. That's my example. I'm just going to jump a couple of slides and then I'll come back. So these are actually Griffith's graduate attributes. So at the end of a program at Griffith University, all of our students, regardless of what program they've achieved, we want them to have these 6 attributes. So we want them to have the knowledge and be skilled and that they can use critical judgment as professionals. We want them to be effective communicators and collaborators. They need to be innovative, creative, and entrepreneurial. Importantly, they have to be socially responsible and engaged in their communities. Culturally capable with working with First Australians. They're our traditional owners, our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities. And then that students can also be effective in the culturally diverse and international environments. So that's the university graduate attributes. And underneath that relates to what I've put up on the screen are terms that I found on I think it was the university site, of words that were being described of what students would achieve when they finish their qualifications. So being multidisciplinary in their practice, collaboration, problem solving, having technical excellence, being creative, having that cultural awareness and entrepreneurial skills. So you can see that despite our locations, between India and Australia, we still have the same expectations of what students should have when they graduate. Now, what I've put at the bottom of this screen, these are some learning outcomes for a specific program. So this is for our undergraduate business program. And there's 6 key areas. So effectively communicate with diverse audiences through a variety of modes and media, which you can see links with the one above about communication and collaboration. That students will be able to critically analyse local and global business issues to apply inclusive, socially responsible and sustainable practices. Students will be able to discuss how to integrate Australia's First Peoples perspectives in contemporary business contexts. They'll be able to apply knowledge and skills which enhance employability and career paths. They can apply interdisciplinary perspectives to contemporary business practices, and they can identify and critically analyse sources of data to inform evidence-based decision-making. So probably the key things to look at here is that each of these learning objectives start with a verb. So it's about, well, actually the first two don't, but it's about what the students can do. So we want the students to be able to communicate with different people. We want them to be able to analyze issues, to discuss. So that links with the idea of Bloom's taxonomy. I'm not sure if that's been discussed in any of your sessions yet. So that hierarchy of different skills that students will develop across their time. But if we jump back, let's just see if I can do this easily. Maybe not. So those were our educational goals. Then we have to think about, how do we assess that? So, how do we assess that students can communicate effectively? Is that something that's measured in any of your courses or programs? Do you assess communication? Would someone be willing to share what types of assessment you use with your students?
Ma'am, can you show me your scanner once again, ma'am, please?
Show which one?
Can you show me your scanner, ma'am, so that I now installed the scanner?
You wanted to see which? Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you wanted to see. The QR code or the?
Yes, QR code attribute.
The QR code, that one?
Yeah, yes, yes,
Yep.
yes. Yes, I got it.
Excellent. So I was just
Yes,
wondering.
select language. Yes, select language. Then different languages are there. Tamil, Telugu.
You can choose different languages for it.
Yes, I got it.
Excellent. There I can see a whole lot now. Yep. So what sort of ways would you assess communication?
Yes.
I know that this was being hosted by the physics department. What sort of assessment strategies would be put into place to check communications, that students can be good communicators? Historically, that would be through essays. Does anyone still use essays? I think I've lost the chat. I can't see the chat anymore. I'm not sure where that went. You can let me know where the chat might be. So with our assessment, that you want to be looking at different strategies, so different styles of communication. So it might be that you want the students to be able to communicate through a video presentation, presenting live, through doing a pitch, through writing a report, through writing a brief to the government if they had to request funding, so that you're learning different ways for them to be able to do that assessment. So if we use this constructive alignment process, we know then, yep, sorry.
Ma'am, the graduate attributes program learning outcomes, cognitive learning, critical thinking, communication, high-level professional quality, teaching, learning. So many outcomes are there. I opened this. Am I right, ma'am?
Yep, I can show you our outcomes again. I can jump back to that one in a second. Yeah, I'm just trying not to lose all the different chats there. So if we can use this approach, we know that the students will then know what's expected of them. We can promote their engagement, their motivation, and they have a very clear pathway. So we start off with our graduate attributes. Oh, hang on, I can see someone's got a screen on. Dr. Sanju, I can see someone's got their screen on, but I can't hear anything.
Yes, yeah, ma'am, you can proceed.
Okay.
Proceed. Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
So, set the program learning outcomes and then set your course learning outcomes to think about how that feeds in together. And you'll see that they need to be connected. So the graduate attributes should inform your program learning outcomes, which should then feed back into the graduate attributes. The program learning outcomes should be very clearly aligned with each of the course learning outcomes. And within your course, each week, you should have learning outcomes for your topic that you want the students to have achieved by that week of doing that particular material. Then what components and what strategies you're going to be using for teaching, the assessment types. And then, as I mentioned before, we need to evaluate everything. So once we've got to the end of our teaching time, we look at, have the students achieved what we wanted them to do? Are the program learning outcomes connected and aligned clearly with the course, with the assessment? Does the assessment link with the course learning outcomes? Are we teaching our material in the right way, or is there a different method to be using in the classroom? So they were our attributes. So how do we actually get to this process of making the classroom activities and the workshop activities connected for our students? And this is where we bring in a student-centered design. So we want to create a learning experience that's going to put the student, the learner, in the middle of everything we're doing. We want it to be engaging, meaningful, and relevant. So that's what we think back before what I was talking about, all the changes in the way that education is being presented now for students and their expectations. If we take a student-centered approach, we're going to be able to promote deeper learning. The students will be more motivated, and importantly, they'll develop those lifelong learning skills that we want them to have. It's about really tailoring their learning, the processes and the content to meet their needs, their interests, and their abilities. And I think that's an important thing to think about, is their abilities of these students to being able to engage in the learner. So if we take a student-centered approach, we are not the pure expert at the front filling the empty cups of the students who don't have any knowledge. We are facilitating their learning. We're trying to promote their excitement about the topics, that they want to go and explore more and make those connections between the different areas. So one of the important things is to think about, what is their existing knowledge and how are we adding to that? How do we set different learning goals to meet their needs? So what students are looking for, and the ways that we can do this, is through active and experiential learning. Now, for those of you who are in the physics, in the science fields, in the STEM, the science technology area. I think there's some great opportunities here because the students need to have that experiential learning. They need to be actively engaged and doing tasks to be able to develop that knowledge. Now, they need to be able to solve problems. They need to be able to collaborate and work together in teams, have discussions, work on projects together so that they can get that deeper level of understanding of the content. They can start thinking critically about what you're teaching them. And I think importantly, they can take what you're learning and apply it in different contexts for the world. Linking with that is that idea of collaboration and peer learning. Students really enjoy the opportunities to share with each other their knowledge. And I think that's really evident now in the context where the students are used to sharing a lot of things. They're very connected online, sharing things with peers. So they want to be doing the same thing in their learning, you know, studying together, working on projects together, really building those teamwork skills. But what we need to remember as educators is they may not have the skills to know how to collaborate. So it's about scaffolding those team building skills. And I think when I looked at the video, I think it was from Michael Murphy that you had this week, and he talked about Belvin's team roles that he uses. I use the same in my teaching. And I think about how I put students together and I teach them how to work together in a team to work on their project and teaching them how to solve conflict in their team. So we need to give them that scaffolding and those communication skills that they can work together, really allowing them to build the skills that employers want them to have. Now, in terms of the technology in the learning environment, we need to think about the different apps, the different tools we've got that we can allow the students to engage in multimedia presentations, and that how we teach is in a multimedia way. You know, for us that we talk about in Australia is a real shift towards the TikTok generation or the YouTube videos, where they're used to short little videos, 3-4 minutes. They don't want long things. They'll get bored. So they want short bites. They'll watch a bit and then there might be an activity they have to do, or they might do a bit of reading. So a lot of our learning that we do in our curriculum it's online, so there's not a lecture anymore. They watch a little video and then they'll have some reading. And then they'll watch another little video and then there'll be a bit more reading. Or there might be an activity that's just applied what they learned, or it could be a little quiz, so that they're really staying active through that different technology that they're using. Now, allowing them to use visual representations of their learning, or we present our material in different visual ways. You know, wanting it to be engaging and memorable. Making it authentic and relevant. So remember before I said the students want to know why they have to learn this. They need to have a purpose in their learning, and you need to be explicit in why we're teaching it, so that they understand that the assessment that we're getting them to do relates to what they would be doing when they graduate. So I get my students, I teach a course around sustainable businesses, and we get the students to analyze the sustainability of the business, and we use the SDGs, and they have to identify where they could be improving their business to enhance their the business's contribution towards achieving SDGs. And then we also look at them making a portfolio as evidence for future employers. Now, the millennials, the Gen Zs, the Gen Ys, whatever generation we want to be talking about, anything after Gen X, which is my generation, they're very values driven now. So for them, it's about things like the SDGs, and we need to embed that into the learning for them. We want them to have that autonomy and developing that lifelong learning. So helping them set their goals, their own learning goals, giving them choice where possible, so that they've got that ability to personalize their learning and have that real intrinsic motivation. And then having that flexibility and adaptability. So they like being able to self-pace in their learning. So that's where we've moved, as I said, we've moved away from lectures, And we have online modules that they work through, and then they'll come to an in-person class on campus, or we do a class online, and that's where they start applying their actual learning. But by having that flexibility of when they do their material, and they could be on the bus completing the module on their phone, they really appreciate that flexibility and that ability to do things in their own time. So the ways to be developing the curriculum, this has been a big shift over the last, say, 5 or so years, is really using students as partners. So seeing that the students can be actively involved in determining their learning journeys. So they can be involved as co-creators of their learning goals. They could be participating in the actual curriculum design. So thinking about what their learning goals are, the ways that they might like to learn, how they might like to be assessed, getting that alignment, thinking about their motivation and their goals and their needs. But other things that you could do in your curriculum is looking at things like student design projects. So having students collaborate together on a project, and then they teach their peers. And that student-led instruction is a really great way for them to engage with their learning. Similarly with the student-led assessments, having those collaborative learning activities, so the peer-to-peer teaching, or an area that's really growing is COIL. So that's collaborative online international learning. So it might be that, for example, your students and my students worked on a project together. Obviously the challenge can often be around the time, but it could be that we're doing joint classes, or they're working asynchronously on a project, and then they get together and they'll talk in a Teams meeting or on a Zoom call, and there's that collaboration across the globe. So that's a really great way to be engaging students as partners. And I think importantly, when you're developing your curriculum, is to have that continuous feedback loop, asking students at the end of the classes what they liked, what they didn't like, what would they like to see changed. And we can keep regularly updating our content. I've also put on the side industry as partners. So getting organizations, getting experts in the industry to have input and provide guidance on your curriculum, on your assessment, on your learning goals, and so that your learning objectives. So that's thinking about all the different stakeholders. It could be government coming in, and you're thinking about what are the different stakeholders and their needs from this educational experience. So the experience that we had a few years ago is we redesigned our entire undergraduate program, and we had students as partners, we had industry involved in the development, and we also embedded things like our careers and employment team provided material for students to help develop their skills ready for graduation. We embedded a lot of work around mental health and well-being, so that we were understanding the other needs of students beyond just them as learners. And that's where students were telling us things. You know, we had videos that we created, and they might have been 8 minutes long, so a little mini lecture, if you wanted to call it that. And the students told us they wouldn't watch it. They'd turn it off after about 3 minutes. So we had to go back and divide the mini lecture into 2 parts. So really small bites, and that kept them connected. You know, if there was a long article, a journal article that we usually like the students to read, they said they won't. It's too long, too hard. So it's really that they drove how we would achieve our learning outcomes, and it was great insight from them. And then equally, we got the industry to have a look at the material, and the industry told us that they wanted perhaps more of a particular topic, so then we could go back and we could develop that material further. So I think, you know, bringing in those different stakeholders is really important. Now I've just realized the time, so I'm going to jump onto the next bit. The last part that I wanted to talk about was the idea of the TPAC, so the technological, pedagogical, content knowledge. So I like this first image because it shows those three different components of our teaching and then shows the interaction. So, you know, when we're doing our teaching, we need to think about what our approaches are and how that particular approach might connect with the content that we're teaching. How are we going to get the students to engage with those three theoretical concepts? What are the different practices that we might do? So is it about using case studies? I've got a colleague who does a lot of storytelling and narrative in his management teaching. Is it practicals? Is it direct instruction? Is it students doing some independent learning? That's a way of them learning the content. Then what technology do we use? So how do we use our technology within the classroom? What technology are we using to make sure that students can access the content correctly? If we don't use the right technology, they're not going to be engaging with that material. They won't be able to connect with the learning of the concepts. And then in that center is how do the three components connect together so that we're getting those students to connect. So how do we get that center part? And a bit like before, if you change one part, it can influence how the students will be learning in another part. So how we teach, how we present the material, what technology we use, and what technology we ask students to use will influence the way that they have their learning. Now, I was going to attempt another Padlet, but I can see that we're almost at time. So I can share the slides, and after this session next week, you can, and I'll share the link. You're free to go onto the Padlet, the other Padlet I set up, which I'll put over here. This is the next Padlet, looks like a brick wall, but I was hoping that participants would share the technology that they use, share different pedagogy that you use in your discipline, and we can look at getting ideas to share across everybody of different ways of doing our teaching. So I'll give that to you after the session, and then we can share that material. Okay, so my last slide. The key takeaway points that I had for tonight is that when we're designing curriculum for that journey, we need to think about the expectations of all the different stakeholders, the students and industry. Put them at the center of our design and involve them within our design of the curriculum. And then think about the outcomes that we want the students to achieve at the end and how the technology, the pedagogy, and the content all combine to contribute to achieving those outcomes. So that was the end of my formal presentation. I think I could stop sharing if I can work out how to do that bit.
Madam, please, the previous slide.
The previous slide?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Sure. Hang on, I've just lost. I don't teach often in Zoom, so I get confused in Zoom. That one. Okay. That one. That over there. And get up. There we go.
Curriculum. Yes. Thank you, madam. It's a nice presentation.
I can share this afterwards for everybody. Now I can see a chat. Thank you. Are there any questions? I'm very happy to talk after the presentation. I can share my email.
Ma'am, very good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, you have discussed about that curriculum enrichment techniques.
Yes.
Since we are a private engineering institution, we are having certain limitations to enhance our curriculum. Actually, in your perspective, what are the major things will be introduced to enrich the students' entrepreneurship skills in the curriculum.
So their entrepreneurship.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I think we've been doing a lot of work around explicitly teaching entrepreneurial skills and teaching creativity, which, I mean, it sounds a bit strange to teach people to be creative, but getting students to move away from the traditional approach where we would get them to write an essay or do an exam. So that's not what they'll do working in an organization. So it's about doing those assessment tasks and then the scaffolded learning within the classroom that is going to build those particular skills. And it's interesting because if you go back 20 years, 10 years ago, the expectations that employers had are still the same expectations that they have now and they'll have that in 2030 around being able to problem solve, being able to be critical thinkers, being able to analyze, being able to, I think, really importantly, use different disciplines and different perspectives. So what I found many years ago is that I would teach management and my students could not bring in their learning from their marketing course or their accounting course, because that was their marketing course and that was that box. And that was their accounting course and that was that box. When you're a practitioner, you know, if you're an engineer, you're not just an engineer. You don't just go and operate in a little box. You're bringing in all the different other knowledges and different considerations. So it's about teaching students how to bring in that interdisciplinary perspective. So that's actually something that we put in our new degree, is that students are required to do courses from different areas of the university to broaden their knowledge. So we might have students do a science course, or they might do a law course, to be thinking about the different areas that they need as they go into practice, getting them to learn how to reflect on their practice that they're doing to continue being that lifelong learner.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your most valuable reply. Thank you, ma'am.
No worries. I can see someone's put up about feedback link. Have you got a, is there a feedback form?
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's very enlightening and great insights at the micro level. We can able to understand what is happening in this current scenario and what is the expectations in terms of graduate outcomes and program learning outcomes, and is expectation of this today's generation people, Google generation people. We got a very good feedback input from you. Thank you very much for, even at the late night, we are very grateful to you for very invaluable time you spent with us to enlightening us and sharing your thought process and experience, especially what is going on in especially this Australia also. That very kind of you, madam. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Very
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm very, very honored to have been here, and it's great to see so many people present on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Dear participants, thank you very much for all the participants for about more than 16 days. We are conducting this faculty development program on teaching, learning, assessing in 2030. We are very grateful to every participant. It was a very highly successful. Without your participation, without your support, without your cooperation, it could not be that. So we are very grateful to every participants who registered and attending the programs daily and giving this excellent kind of feedback. Everything, we are very thankful to you. So now may I request any one of the participants to give about the feedback about all the 16 days that I think on Madam Mageshwari was interested to give first. Mageshwari ma'am is there?
Yes, sir, I am audible.
Please to switch on your video, ma'am, please.
Sir,
Is it possible for you?
I'll
Otherwise,
try.
no problem. No problem.
Okay, sir. Yeah, fine. Sir, my voice is audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Excellent.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone present here. It's my great pleasure that I have got an opportunity to convey my feedback regarding about this 16 days FDP regarding about teaching, learning and assessment techniques. Actually, as one of the teaching part, we are all learning about so many things, even in the classrooms, as well as in our day-to-day life. And I hope that each day, whatever we have learned in these 16 days, each topic, it is really awesome and excellent. And the speakers, they have given their best effort to convey us all the thing. And I learned about so many things, even the artificial intelligence, how to be in the education field, and so many digital tools which can be used for communication purposes. And also, there are several speakers from abroad as well as from India who has conveyed us so many things about in this faculty development. Actually, I hope on behalf of all the participants and all the teaching faculties, surely it will benefit us in our future path. And my sincere thanks to the convener, Dr. Ashokan sir from SRM Institute, Ramapuram campus, and also the other coordinators who were behind the screen, and also the other people who have done this excellent job. Really, thank you. Thanks a lot. From my bottom of my heart, I thank each and everyone for this wonderful event. And once again, myself, Dr. P. Maheshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics from Sri Sairam Engineering College, Chennai. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Very kind of you, madam. Anybody else? Another gentleman, I think I didn't get any name. Someone is interested to give the feedback. Anybody?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Please, sir.
So good evening, one and all virtually present here. Myself, Dr. Karthikeyan from Dr. NGP Institute of Technology, Coimbatore. So first of all, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to the SRM Institute of Science and Technology, especially Dr. Ashokan sir and his team for organizing this 16 days online international FDP on teaching, learning, assessing in 2030. And next, I would like to thank our institution management for giving this opportunity to attend this faculty development program. Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
So really, like, according to this FDP, after a very long time, as a teacher, I'm acting like a student between 6 to 7 or 7 to 8. I have taken more than 40 to 50 pages of notes in this particular FDP. Really, all the speakers have delivered the session in an excellent manner. In the present generation, FDP is very much useful. Especially, I want to highlight some of the content. In the very first session, the guest of the day, Dr. Bharati Harishankar ma'am has told about teachers should be the co-creators or collaborators. That is very wonderful point. And then another important model I have impressed out of this particular FDP is the music model of motivation. Really, I enjoyed that particular session. And then another thing I wish to convey, the AI for educators, the role of artificial intelligence, because I belong to Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science. So AI for educators, the various tools described by the resource person, like how to make the video using AI tool, how to use the chat GPT. The session was so excellent. And finally, the today's session, the curriculum enrichment. So not only today's session, every session is very excellent. Really, I thank the convener for this event, Dr. Ashokan sir, and his team for their greatest effort to organize such kind of wonderful FDP. Thank you so much, sir, for giving this opportunity to give a feedback. Thank you.
Very kind of you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other participants would like to speak, please?
Sir, I would like to give my feedback.
Please switch on your video, ma'am, please, possible.
I have switched on my video, sir.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
I am Dr. Geeta, principal from Faculty of Education, Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute.
Yeah.
Hats off to the team to organizing such a wonderful 16 days FTP program. It is not very easy to conduct the FTP. Connecting the resource person and organizing is very difficult. So my thanks to Ashokan sir. Whenever he is conducting, I will never miss Dr. Ashokan sir's FTP. So thank you very much to all the resource persons. It was very wonderful. Since I am a principal for teacher educator, teaching, learning and assessing is a wonderful topic. It is right from school to college in all discipline. It will be very useful. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thanks to all the participants as well as to SRM School of Education. Thank you.
Very kind of you, madam. So any other
Hello,
participants, please?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, first of all, I would like to thank the convener, Dr. Ashokan sir, who is the Department of Physics. First, this program is a lengthy program, sir. 14 days, nearly 16 days program.
Yeah.
I hope this is the first time that Department of Physics is conducting this lengthy online program. Even though this program was organized by Department of Physics, many of the faculty members from physics and other subjects, basic subjects, maths, physics, chemistry, and engineering, including computer science, intelligence, artificial, all other departments have participated and they gained the knowledge. I hope, moreover, sir, I hope that 14 countries have, that is various resource persons from 14 countries and nearly 300 participants for 16 days and 16 days program. Various resource persons, particularly from all over the world. Really, I had enjoyed, sir. And I have confident that that we will gain. That is, I gained more knowledge, not only in the Department of Physics also, and also other faculties also. So, so I am very thankful to our convener, sir, and the organizers who has take much effort to continue to organize this program. This is not an easy process. It is a difficult process, planned, well planned and well organized, sir. So thanks to conveners and organizers, and also finally, I would like to thank all the resource persons who gave knowledge to the faculty members for the teaching process. I hope that this process will enhance the knowledge for the teaching, learning and assessing in the 2030. Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you to one all.
Thank you. So anybody would like to speak, please?
Yes, sir. This is Jem Tajuddin from Bangladesh.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I would like to thank everybody to arrange such a training. I hope that this training will help me in future teaching activities as a teacher. Teaching methods are changing with time and day by day. So we should always be involved in such a training. I again thanks to all, not only the organizer as well as the participant also. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So anybody would like to speak?
Yes, sir.
Please, ma'am.
Sir,
Yeah, please, ma'am.
I am Shobha speaking. Can I speak?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
I am from Kumaraguru College of Technology. On behalf of all the participants from Kumaraguru College of Technology, I would like to thank you for giving us a very good FDP. Rather than saying FDP, it's really something everyone enjoyed during the course, and it had its own standards rather than just a kind of movement. And the way it was organized, one after the other, really helped us in many ways. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you for the organizing committee as well.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Sir, can I give my feedback, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, first of all. Kudos to your team, sir. This is really a miraculous FTP, I want to say. Why it is because, I'm a management faculty. Been attended many FDPs, sir. But why I said it's miraculous because physics department organizing such a wonderful, FTP is really a mind-blowing thing, sir. We every day had a refreshing, site with the the speakers like whom they gave us. They refreshed our mind, they enhanced our skills, and the theme. I was really very amazed by the topic like which you were chosen for the FTP, sir, and it was really a very amazing topic, and really, today you have got the mindset of each and every teachers what today teachers want, so that was being chosen, and you have taken the right mindset, sir. So first of all, kudos for that, sir, and Ashokan sir, and for your team, sir. We are wishing a bright success first of all, and we have to keep an obligation that kindly don't forget us for the next FTP, sir.
Definitely.
We're expecting these types of FDPs, and kindly don't forget to please put an invitation. We are ready to participate, sir, and it was really a refreshing course that we got for the 16 days, sir, and really amazing and eminent professors who really took us to the right path, sir. So it was so good, and once again I want to thank everyone who helped us, and the organizing committee also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So can I give my feedback
please,
now?
Please.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Tarni Kulshri, speaking from SRMIST Delhi NCR campus.
Thank you.
First of all, sir, I would like to thank you for organizing this wonderful program. We came in touch with a lot of qualified professionals who gave us a lot of information regarding how to handle classes and structure assignments and homeworks. I especially like the idea about flipped classroom, where the teacher doesn't go to the classroom assuming that the teacher is perfect in knowledge, but takes students' feedback as equally important, and that really does enrich the teaching learning process. And I would like to thank all the other dignitaries who came and gave their valuable suggestions on how to enhance this teaching learning process. I especially appreciate Supraja madam. Her FDP on universal human value was really very, very enriching, and all the other personalities who gave their delivery was absolutely perfect and enriching. Thank you so much for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
sir. I am Ansari from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
This 16 days training has been very rewarding, and many thanks to organize. More development is effort with new topics in upcoming day. Best wishes to all. Best wishes to all. Thank you, organizing committee. Thank you for.
Sir, can you please post this feedback link, please? Then say again,
Ashokan sir, can I make a comment, sir?
Yeah, please,
okay,
sir.
Yes, I am from Sri Lanka. Actually, it's a very very good opportunity for us to I'm a senior lecturer. Even I am teaching this technology in education as well. But it's a very good workshop that you organize. But anyway, I missed one or two sessions due to the connectivity issue and all. But anyway, it's a great workshop, and thank you so much for the organizers, especially Ashokan sir, for organizing a wonderful session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So finally, this as gratitude is a sign of noble souls, it is indeed a matter of immense gratification and honor to propose vote of thanks. On my own behalf, as well as the Department of Physics, I wish to render our sincere gratitude, our Honorable and beloved Chairman Sir, Co-Chairman Sir, and Management Committee members, Dean, Engineering Technology of SRM IST Ramapuram campus, for their continuous encouragement and extensive support to conduct this successfully this 16 days FDP program. We are very grateful to today's speaker also, Amanda Daly from Australia. Of course, it's a late night for her. We are very thankful to Madam for sparing her valuable time. And last and least, the participants. Without these participants, this could not be happen. Great success on that. So we are very grateful to every individual participants for investing their time every day to enrich their knowledge, enrich their wisdom, to improve their teaching competency and develop their educational leadership. Because the purpose of this program is I want every teachers to improve their teaching competency and develop the educational leadership. I believe that my purpose will be fulfilled there. So thank you very much. You can give this feedback on today's feedback as well as this entire 16 days FDP. We will give the separate link for 16 days FTP. We can also post your feedback in the WhatsApp group. WhatsApp group is now open to all people. Please post only the feedback, not anything else, not like that. Okay, so feedback I am expecting in terms of what is that? What is the one thing or two things which create impact on you so that you can change your mindset, you can change your attitude, you change your behavior. So tomorrow I go to the class, yes, I will implement this. Or till yesterday, I have some kind of assumption. After attending these programs, my assumption has changed, my thinking process has changed, my mindset has changed. That kind of feedback I'm expecting from that. Okay, otherwise, all people given wonderful feedback. We are very thankful to you. I will communicate to all the people the entire report, all the 16 days YouTube link also I will share with you. So as far as certificate is concerned, please give us 2 days time at the minimum. Say today is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. From Monday onwards, definitely you'll get certificates. Don't worry about getting the certificates. All participants who are all attending this, all the registering participants definitely will get certificates. Give some 2-3 days time. After 1 week, if you're not getting the maximum I'm talking about, please ping to me. Definitely, I will arrange personally to you. I ensure that you are getting certificates. So you need not worry about the certificates. All registered participants will give certificates, receive the certificates. Madam, can you please post this 16 days FTP in another link, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dear participants, this is a link I have posted in chat box. Please click on that. That is a Padlet link. You can write on a wall, and I'm going to share my screen where you can see the other participants' feedback also, as you have seen in today's session. The same software we are using.
Certificates will reach you in your email, or we'll give the link. You can download the certificates.
Yes, I have shared my screen. If you are posting the feedback, you will be able to see here. Please see in the chat box. You have to just click on the link and yes. I have pasted the Padlet link in the WhatsApp group also. If you want, take the link from there. You can take and
Ma'am, Sanju ma'am. Sanju ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, is it possible to take the chat printout, madam? Download, madam.
Yes, sir. This chat printout means the Padlet. Yes.
No, not this one. Zoom.
Zoom, yes, sir. Printout. Yes.
Yeah. Please make a copy of that.
Okay, sir.
Excluding
Sir, can we stop sharing?
Padlock is stop, madam. Hello.